know what? Why don't you like program a voice or something to make me artificially tell to you what you need to hear? Because it's not gonna happen from this side ever.
Agree,
To
it's never
stop
going to happen. And it's
addressing
not
me.
about telling me.
You're
It's not about
harassing
explaining
me.
it. It's
You're
about proving it.
harassing
And you
me.
can't
You're
prove it,
distorting.
but you tell people as though it's true. That's the bit I disagree with.
You're harassing me.
I'm not. I'm challenging
Yes,
you.
you
I'm
are.
calling you.
Yes, you are.
I'm calling you, Arwin. I'm challenging you.
I've already responded to every challenge in every way I can, and you refuse to drop it. Because you're a freaking son of a bitch, asshole, piece of shit, dog.
No need, Arwin.
Yeah, there is a need.
There
is
isn't.
absolutely a need.
So why did you block me?
Because you refuse to stop.
Are you going to stop telling people about this density and
In
buoyancy? Can't
school,
explain everything?
20 years ago or 25 years ago, sometimes there were people like you there. If you would do this shit face to face, and I wouldn't be as reserved as I am, I would actually beat the shit out of you and probably put you in the hospital for this shit you're putting me through.
Just being silly.
Okay?
You're just being silly. It's childish. It's
No,
childish,
I know.
Arwin. It's just
It's
childish.
bullying. It's bullying and it's harassment. And I'm asking you to stop it, and you're not. Because you're a
And I'm asking
freaking
you, will you
son
stop
of a
telling
bitch,
people that-
sociopath, lawyer, asshole, dog.
And I'm asking you, will you stop telling people things that you claim to be true that you can't
It's
prove and
my
admit
own
that you can't
freaking
prove
business
them,
what I
but
talk
stop
about.
passing them off as true?
I'm not gonna criticize you for all the shitty misconstruencies you spread all over the place like it's a freaking shit sandwich. It's your freaking business. I don't give a shit what you talk about. Leave
So I guess that was a
me
no.
alone.
So that was a no. Let me ask the question again, Arwin. Are you going to stop telling people
Fuck
things
you
that are not true?
and leave me alone.
Distorting.
No, the answer's no, Arwin. If you're going to keep pushing your preaching gospel, I'm not going to allow you to do that, and I'm going to challenge it because I don't
fuck
agree with you.
yourself, you fucking piece of shit. Go kill yourself.
No need. Just no
Fuck
need.
you. Fuck you too, Nathan.
What makes you think that
He's
I'm going to
gone.
treat you any
Can you join the
different to
hangout?
sheeps and neeps when I don't agree with him on the water thing?
He's gone. Can you join the hangout now?
Yeah.
Oh, has he gone?
Ah, Arwin. No need. No need at all. Makes it seem like you've got a weak position if you get that angry about it. Yeah.
So why is it a lot easier when we're all in the one hangout rather than spread on Skype and hangouts?
Just because it's more likely to have a problem and crash.
Oh.
That said, I restarted the computer before. If my wife uses it for watching a movie or something, I'll restart the computer after she's done it. So I now I remember building the PC thinking, why do these people say that you need to have a separate streaming machine? That seems totally unnecessary. I'm sure this can be a gaming computer and a home computer and a streaming computer and a TV computer and a movie computer. I'm sure it can do everything. It's a computer. Just tell it what to do and it does it, right? No. Doesn't like doing more than one
The problem
thing.
is you've got an aging processor now and it's not up to speed anymore. So
Aging processor, my ass. What a load of nonsense.
Well, what processor have you got?
4790K.
Should we benchmark it and see what the comparisons are like to Ranty's, for example?
Ranty's got 2 extra cores.
Yeah, but he's also got much different architecture, right? Pass us the
really.
keyboard, please.
Not really.
Let's see.
It's got
Let's
6 cores.
What we'll do is we'll compare mine and your. I think mine and your processors are similar.
Yours is the next generation after mine, isn't it?
Yeah, I think mine's Skylake. Is yours Kaby Lake?
I don't know. All I know is I paid the extra because it ran cooler. That was all I was really interested in. I just wanted it to run cooler, because if it runs cooler, or can dissipate the heat better, I should say, then it's quieter.
Right, so multi-core. What did you say your number was?
4790K.
4790K, 15,720. So 15.7 thousand, right? Minus 6700K. 17,416. So mine's not much better than yours. Mine and yours are very similar. But then we compare that to fucking.
Well, it depends on the
what's
overclock,
it?
doesn't it? So what's yours clocked at?
4. I turned the overclocking off.
The reason I ask is I seem to remember us doing this about 6 months ago, and mine came out ever so slightly better than yours, but not because it's a better processor, just because I had a higher clock speed. I just got a better overclock out of my processor than you had.
I overclocked it to close the gap between mine and Ranty's, but then I stopped. I turned the overclocking off on it.
Why?
Because I got it stable, but it wasn't stable 100% of the time. It was stable 95% of the time.
Well, then that's not stable.
Yeah, I couldn't be arsed with it. I couldn't be arsed fucking spending any more time on it, so I just turned it all off.
Oh, really?
So you got 17,000, and then Ranty's is 25,000 because he's on the 87K, 8700K.
But it makes a massive difference. I mean, I think out of the box, the CPU I've got is something like, I think it's 4 gigahertz, right? But they boost it up to 4.4 because it's a K SKU, one that you can overclock. So they automatically give you a higher clock speed. Just it boosts automatically, right? But then you can I've overclocked this one. I'm sure I must have fried some resistors when I did it, but I got it up to 4.8K on air. No water, no special, nothing, just on air. Passive, no fans, just literally with one heatsink.
That wouldn't have been stable though, right?
Yeah, it was stable. 4.8K for ages. I can't remember. I did something. I think I tried to push it further, and then I could never get it to 8K again, so I just got greedy. But if I'd have just left it, it'd still be running at 8K now because it was totally stable. But then I was like, at the time, all of these guys who are overclocking were trying to get it to 5K. So I was like, I can get it to 5K. I don't need water. Good a heck. No, you can't. But I think in doing so, I probably damaged it slightly. And now I can only get it to 4.7. So, you know, I never got it to 4.8 after that. But it's still really fast.
I'd expect you to be able to run this comfortably, though. You should be able to do both tasks.
I can. What I'm saying is, if you do something unusual, so for example, if in order to run a movie, I've got to shut down all of the sound processing. So shut down voice meter and then change the processing for sound back into the internal processing, so back into the computer's handling of it. And then it runs it through a sound card, which has got its own software. And in doing so, if I then switch back, it'll often have a problem. So the way around that is just you switch back, then restart, then load everything up again, and it seems to be fine, even if I do run Skype. But in the past, when I've not restarted and then brought Skype into the show halfway through, it crashes.
Travis, I muted you because you were noisy again.
Hey, Travis.
Travis, do you want to unmute and tell us about how the hangout went with the astrophysicist or whatever it was? I've not listened to it yet.
Probably driving.
Yeah, he must be.
Oh, 2 minutes. Jeez, time just flew by.
Nathan, have you frequented yourself with the first 3 laws of Newton's laws on motion?
Sorry, say that again.
Have you had a look at Newton's 3 laws on motion? The first 3 laws on motion from Newton.
Yes.
The first one says that an object at rest will stay at rest unless you add a force to it. The second one says that the force is equal to the acceleration times the mass. And the third one says that...
every action will have an opposite reaction.
Yeah, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Well, if you apply them three rules or laws to gravity with the egg while it's suspended,
none of it
then
applies.
gravity becomes a nonsense because it defies all 3 of them.
Correct.
Hey, morning, guys.
Jose, have you took your meds today, Jose?
60 seconds.
Yeah, right. I was gonna go to Arwin. Did you take your meds? He like, no. Then you should. And then if
Arwin
he say
bailed.
yes, he did. Then he shouldn't take him. If you put him like this, you know.
Well, you know, yesterday he kicked me right at the start, right before I even got a chance to speak.
That sucks. Yeah, that's
Yeah, he's blocked me today. So I said to Nathan, Nathan, he's blocked off. So Nathan said to him, unblock him, otherwise he'll be on Skype for the whole show. So he unblocks me. I get into the hang. Oh no, he didn't unblock me. I was on Skype, and I just said, "Listen, Owen." I said, "At the end of the day, I said you're saying stuff that you admit you can't prove." And I started to say it, and he says, "Shut up! I don't want you to talk to me. You're bullying me and harassing me, and I just want you to stop." And I just said, "I'm not stopping until you stop telling people stuff that's not true." Proper lost his temper and then rage quit.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. So first and foremost, a shout out to Mind of God, and as it's a Sunday, I'm going to lead us in a little bit of praise. So Radius Dominus, Gravitas Spiritus Sanctus, the power of R compels you. How you doing? We're joined by the Plain Truth, Sleeping Warrior, and Jose. Good to have you all.
Hello. What's up? Good morning.
Yo.
Good morning.
Nathan, you didn't hear what Jose just said in the background.
What did he say in the background?
He said he's been chatting to some of the ballers in Discord and he went through housekeeping with them and they've given him answers to all of the housekeeping questions.
That's fantastic.
And other places, Discord and other places, different ballers.
Oh, that's good.
Well, he wants to like present them now as the arguments from the ballers by proxy. And I'm wondering whether that's fair. I'm thinking that I don't mind Jose presenting anything he wants, but I think that's a weasel way for the ballers to try and do what they're doing. Because it's like, why would they get people to come in? Or why would we have to go searching for these questions or these answers? Surely, if we're wrong about any of our assertions, they would love to come in and tell us, but they don't seem to want to at the minute, Nathan. So the question is, should Jose present the arguments against
Absolutely. The best way to discredit an argument is to represent it badly, hence controlled opposition and things of that nature. So yeah, if they don't want to come and present it and they want a flat earther to present it, presumably not in the best possible light because he's, it's not his arguments, he's doing it by proxy. But absolutely. Okay. It works to our advantage, in fact. Obviously. So let's go through
and some of these arguments I really don't. I mean, I don't even understand completely. I heard of them, but I really don't understand where the science comes from. So I'll play the game. I play along.
Okay, well let's have a go. Any signs of curvature?
No.
Not on this end.
Yes.
Okay. What's the curvature?
One of them will be my footage from Pontchartrain, which conforms with Soundless observations also. They say that it shows curvature.
So right, they do realize then that the Earth is much smaller.
Yeah.
That's one vantage point is if it's that observable, look at the arc, it's very small, that means the Earth is much smaller than we've been led to believe. So that's a consequence.
And the other
I say that was debatable because I mean my observations has a lot of atmospheric effects, but they got a good argument. They present me a video which I did not watch. It's a video of a high altitude balloon footage with a rectilinear regular lens by Dwayne Kellum, and it shows the curvature in a high altitude balloon.
Yeah, but there's other high altitude footage that doesn't show it with infrared lenses from J. Tolan Media. He's just released a video of 1,000 miles and there's no curvature. So if that's true, then Dwayne Kellum's can't be true.
At a much lower
30,000 feet and he can see 1,000 miles.
Hey, Arwin. Good to have you.
That doesn't look like it's really Arwin.
Really? Arwin, is that you?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Did you say yes?
It's just that you've got a different symbol. Normally, you've got your normal symbol.
Yeah, I heard him say yes, it is. So, but it was very low, Arwen. You're very low.
Hello, it's me.
Okay, thanks for eating the mic.
Okay.
The other thing is, just to bear in mind, Jose, that if your work's being cited as verification of Soundly's, them guys have got to remember that Ranty did the observations of Barrow in Finesse because it's the same distance of Soundly's, and he's not getting anything like what Soundly gets. He's getting flat as flat as flat. So if Soundly's work is being touted as curvature and your work's there to support it, why is Ranty's work at the same distance not doing the same thing? And the answer, of course, is because something weird's going on with Soundly, either intentionally or organically by virtue of the environment he's in. But if it was curve, we should all be getting it, and Ranty's not getting the same results. Why?
Well, someone is replicating his results. So Phuket Word on a bridge, a flat bridge, manages to replicate the exact same effect by raising and lowering the camera, which to me says it's all about the viewing angle.
Yeah, they ignore that. I'd forgotten about Nick's thing. It's an identical replication of. So ultimately, if your work's being touted as a duplication of Soundly's work, these guys are delusional. That is not duplication. It's not doing the same thing. It's not showing the curve that Soundly shows. The little bit right at the horizon. I mean, yeah, lots of weird stuff happens there, but there's not that curve where it goes up and then comes back down. And I'm sure when you go to repeat it in a couple of months' time, you're not going to get it again. So it's going to be interesting. But no, that's nonsense. If you believe that Soundly's is curvature, then we live on a basketball.
Indeed.
Well,
Any
thank
other
you for
signs
the
of
answer.
curvature, Jose?
Say again, Nathan?
Any other signs of curvature? Or should we move on?
No, we can
move on. That's it for now, yeah.
Is that it? Soundly? So in 2,000 years of globe Earth belief, we have a, 2017 observation from a YouTuber being touted as the evidence of curvature. Are you serious? That's what they gave you?
Yeah, and the high altitude balloon with rectilinear lens that shows the curve.
So the high altitude balloon, let's move on to that. Was the balloon in a fixed position or did the balloon twist around? Did the curvature continue to extend as the balloon span around? Because ultimately speaking, any curvature I've ever seen ever from a high altitude balloon has always got a curvature in a frame, but as the camera spins through 360 degrees, that curve, alleged curve, does not continue. In other words, what you're seeing is the periphery of your vision. It's the field of view that you're observing as opposed to the curvature of the Earth. If it was the curvature of the Earth, it would continue as the camera rotates, but it never does. It stays in the same exact position.
Yeah, I personally haven't watched this footage. I was presented to it, but I didn't have time because it was time to join the show. So I just presented because they
again,
told
when
me
was the footage
it's a
taken?
good evidence.
I mean, I'm not discrediting the evidence based on its freshness, but ultimately speaking, if after 2,000 years of globe assertion, the best evidence we have when we've been discussing this subject since 2015 is a couple of recent observations from YouTubers to prove that the Earth has a curvature, that to me is absolutely outrageous. This should be everywhere. Every photo should
I understand.
demonstrate
Yeah, I
it.
understand. And I was being told. I mean, there's many stuff, but we're gonna give you, something easy to present. More easy to digest because we're not gonna give you too much information because it was gonna take me an hour to write down one point because I'm not gonna memorize it quick, being a very elaborated point to present.
Sure. I mean, next thing is part of your evidence for curvature was to suggest that your footage matched Soundly's. Well, I've looked at your footage, and on your phone footage, when it's really tiny, you could see something that looked similar to Soundly, but on your actual phone, on your camera footage, it didn't look anything like Soundly.
Sorry, I kicked myself.
Kicked yourself.
Oh, I heard that.
Did you hear what I said, Jose?
Yes, sir, I did.
Well, would you agree that would you say that you have validated Soundly's observation or not?
I have said that I couldn't. I did not. I didn't take the right angle. I didn't have the right camera. The conditions were wrong. I wasn't able to replicate him. They say yes because they see the obstruction in the building at the end, and maybe the bridge was not curving the way he was. But they say I actually, because I went over there and I stood in the very close to the same steps he did, that equals I replicated him. That's their take on it.
Fair enough. Right, I think we'll move on. Any evidence of axial rotation? Looking at you, Jose.
Yeah, 1 second. 1 second. Let me throw this garbage bag over here in the can. That's the first garbage bag, and now the second. Axial rotation. Yes, I got some evidence. One will be Foucault pendulum.
What now? Foucault pendulum.
How does that prove axial rotation?
The Foucault pendulum. Yeah, I was given that as an axial rotation evidence.
Okay, so if you're to assert that the Foucault pendulum is a proof of axial rotation, then you also have to accept that that causes a glaring contradiction with the Coriolis effect. If the Earth is turning underneath the pendulum, and the pendulum is in a second reference frame, thus showing Earth's rotation beneath it, then you must accept that the atmosphere and the Earth are separately rotating, as would be necessitated by a Coriolis effect. But then you have to explain why the plane trips don't take different durations in different directions. If indeed, as the Foucault pendulum would suggest, you have separate reference frames with the Earth turning underneath, then you must also have a shorter duration east to west and west to east. But you don't. You don't have a Coriolis effect. There's also loads of other things that can be accounted or aren't accounted for that could be causing the effect on the Foucault pendulum. Lastly, these Foucault pendulums aren't a freely swinging pendulum. They've got bloody motors at the top of them. And further to that, this isn't an experiment. We don't observe pendulums in the natural world. So if this is a scientific evidence or claimed scientific evidence of Earth spinning, then it's not science. We're not observing natural phenomena of pendulum swing. This is a parlour trick, not science. Outrageous to assert that some swinging pendulum is science. It's a man-made pendulum. Your observed phenomena is man-made. Man made it.
Nathan, you've missed the key word, axial rotation.
Well, I don't see that a swinging pendulum proves anything's moving other than the pendulum itself.
Yeah, I think that if they're going to argue axial rotation with a pendulum, I'd ask them, well, what bit of the axial bit does that prove? Because I can't actually see an answer for that.
Was that the only example? I'm a bit aghast that that's the best they've got to offer. Is that really it?
Sorry about that. No, I got one more, but that one is two parts. It's a gyro compasses and the ring laser gyro. So it's two gyros in there involved in that.
The ring laser gyro. Oh, right. So they're applying Chris Monk's theory, right? Well, if ring laser gyros do it, mechanical gyros should drift too. Why does that not happen?
And what's a gyro compass?
Sorry, just explain how the gyroscopes. How do gyroscopes prove we're on a spinning ball?
I really don't know.
Gyroscopes what they're saying is the ring laser gyroscopes are showing that the Earth rotates, right? And they're applying what happened with Chris Monk and FE Core. However, if ring laser gyros are rotating, then mechanical gyros should rotate too. But they don't do it. So there's a problem.
Hold on.
So it seems that one is measuring one thing and the other one is not. And ring laser gyros are measuring light. They're not measuring inertia. They're measuring light.
This isn't measuring anything. This is a formal logical fallacy. If we see a 15-degree deviation on a gyroscope, then the Earth is a spinning ball. The Earth is a spinning ball because we see a 15-degree deviation on a gyroscope. Just a formal logical fallacy. This is, again, is this the best they've got?
Yeah, but do you know what, though? If when Rich, Mr. Thrive and Survive, when he flew across America, and when he got his theodolite app out, Dioptra, when he put it on his desk when he was on the runway, and he reset it, if when he flew across the states to the other side, it showed a 4-degree turn in his phone when he puts it level again. If it showed that, even though it's a formal logical affirming the consequent fallacy, I would still accept that the Earth was spherical on that basis, because it's like measuring things with a spirit level. If it's flat, it's flat. Well, if it's curved, that theodolite app on his phone has to show the degrees turn that he's flown around the Earth while he's flown across the states, and it didn't do it. So even though for me personally it might not be scientific, the gyroscope proof is that the Earth is not curved or spinning. And if you're going to claim that ring laser gyros are proof that it's spinning, well, show why it is that mechanical gyros don't do it. And the answer, of course, is because ring laser gyros are measuring light. And we all see that the stars are moving above us, and that's what it's measuring. It's measuring the ether. Now, you guys can argue that as much as you want, but the fact remains that the mechanical gyros do not do it. And even a theodolite app on your phone does not show that when you fly over America, you do not fly over a curve. You fly over a flat plane.
If we have a 15-degree turn, then we have a spinning ether. We have a spinning ether because we see a 15-degree turn on a ring laser gyro. Bollocks. Just another formal logical fallacy. Just affirming the consequent.
Maybe, but if speed gun says that you're doing 60 mile an hour in a 50 zone, and then it tells you that, and if speed camera says 60, and you're doing 60, I don't know how it works that way around, but I don't see a problem with things that are designed to measuring things, even if that falls outside of science. Because at the end of the day, gyroscopes, whatever gyroscopes prove or don't prove within science.
Sorry, for me, you show me one gyroscope that claims it measures ether turn. Show me that.
Say again?
Show me one gyroscope that claims I am a measuring device for ether turn. Show me that.
Well, the ring laser gyro measures light. Doesn't measure inertia.
Ether turning specifically.
Well, measures light.
So you're telling me that because it measures light, it is a measuring device for ether turn?
Well, something's moving, and the mechanical gyros don't detect it.
Yeah, the gyro.
Yeah, something's moving.
Like the pendulum that I just ripped a new one. Why would I let you get away with this with a gyroscope?
No, I'm not asking you to let me get away with it. I'm stating that
you're trying to affirm the consequent with a gyroscope. You're trying to affirm the consequent. You're trying to say we have a spinning ether because you see a turn in a gyroscope. Well, no.
No, I'm saying that if the ring laser gyro was measuring the inertia of the Earth, then the mechanical gyro should do the same thing, and they don't. So whether you're affirming the consequent or refusing me to allow it to affirm the consequent, either way, the gyroscopes are a measuring device of some kind, like a spirit level.
Well, measuring what?
Who cares? The point is that they're not doing the same
thing. If you're
thing.
going to assert that you got bloody ether turn based on it, then I do care. Especially if you start half formulating the logical fallacy by saying if we have a turning Earth, turning ether, whatever. That's literally 50% of you actually giving me the full formal logical fallacy formulated.
No, my point isn't to affirm the consequent. My point is to distinguish them from the fact that mechanical gyros are not doing the same thing, and that's an issue. So in other words, if you're going to accept that the ring laser gyro does show the Earth rotation, then you've got to explain why the mechanical gyros are not.
But that's my point.
But that's my point.
No, I don't accept that. I don't accept that at all.
No, you don't accept that. I know, but I'm saying that I personally
physical matter.
But anybody who does accept it is guilty of logical fallacy. Just accepting a logical fallacy if they accept that.
What I have learned, this is my personal opinion. This is you, Anthony, covering the just so story of the spinning baller gyro proving it. We don't know the just so story either. You know, that's what I
Yeah,
have learned. We
exactly.
don't.
Well
If
put.
I don't
I
know,
agree.
I don't know. Period.
I agree. You're right. I'm not saying that. I'm not arguing that position. All I'm saying, this is where, like Nathan says, why have the argument in the first place when you can kill it from the start? And I tend to like to have the counter argument, whereas Nathan just likes to kill it from the start. But either way, both ways, it doesn't work out well for them. So they claim the ring laser gyro does one thing. Nathan says it doesn't prove anything anyway. And I say, well, if it does prove something, it's got to be consistent with the mechanical gyros because they've got to do the same thing. If the Earth's spinning, both of them should do it. But either way, neither works.
Why?
So,
Why? You've just done it again. You've given the logical fallacy. If the Earth is spinning,
a laser gyroscope spin because of that. It's light. It's not physical matter. It doesn't have the same effect as a regular gyroscope because there's no matter spinning.
We're saying the same thing, Arwen.
But it's not. It's a formological fallacy. Even if the Earth were a spinning globe, that doesn't mean that both the gyroscopes should be spinning. The laser gyroscope is completely irrelevant as to the Earth's spin or not, because it's gyrating laser. It's not gyrating matter. It's not the same object. Just because it's called a gyroscope doesn't mean it has the same effect.
Yeah, but the ballers are claiming it as a rotation.
Yeah, it's wrong. Doesn't make any sense.
No, I agree.
It's not a gyroscope.
On this one, Arwen, we're fine. The difference is they're saying that it's proof that it's the Earth spinning. I'm saying Nathan's saying no, it doesn't prove anything, and I'm saying even if it does prove, even to them, if it does prove something, it's not proving Earth spin. It's proving something else because the mechanical gyros don't do it. So either way, they're knackered. Whether they affirm the consequent or not, that's not a valid counter.
So you're presenting an alternative explanation. That's understandable.
Yeah. Was that a question or a request?
No. It was kind of a statement, like you just, giving an alternative explanation that there are another explanations that could work too.
Yeah, I'm saying if you are going to beg the consequent or beg the question, then at least beg the question fairly. Because if you are measuring that the Earth's rotating, then the mechanicals have got to do 15 degrees an hour too, and they don't do it. So you've got two contradictory pieces of evidence there. Which one's right? One measures light, one measures inertia. Neither work.
Begging the question fairly? Are you serious?
Say again.
Begging the question fairly? It's ridiculous. You can't do that.
Well, they're the ones that are bringing up that as a point, and we're going through them.
It's a ridiculous statement. It's like stealing something in an honorable fashion. You know? It's ridiculous. It's just wrong.
I agree, and to be honest, Darwin, now I'm not just saying this to disagree with you, but in terms of if you look at a different example, so if we look at the calculator, so the affirming the consequent, begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking curve calculator that they all use to prove that obstruction is curvature. Excuse me. If you compare this to that, I would never allow them to beg the question. No, it's just a begging the question fallacy. No, don't need it. You've already got your outcome. There's R. Whereas by actually working within the confines of the logical fallacy, Anthony figured out how the calculator ticked. Now, had I have got my way, we wouldn't now know. We wouldn't have the word perspective hijacking. We might say perspective omitting, not realising that the calculator is literally just utilising perspective for its own ends. But that's down to Anthony working within the confines of begging the question. So, as much as I'm going to always take this line, I'm always going to say, no, it's just begging the question. And Anthony's going to go, yeah, but if we allow them to beg the question, which a lot of them do, then it's flawed for these reasons. So it works well, me saying no and pointing out the overall, underlying flaw with whatever argument. But there are intricacies that people will need to know about how the magic trick works, and you've got to kind of work within the begging the question fallacy to do that. I hate it. It drives me nuts, but Anthony seems to love it. So a lot of arguments get caused from it. So I totally empathise with you, Arwen. It's outrageous. You just don't let them beg the question.
Right.
But even in this one instance, even where they do, or it often happens anyway, but if we allow them to, for the sake of just the discussion itself, it doesn't help them that the ring laser gyros and the mechanical gyros don't do the same thing. Because if they're both measuring the same thing, they should. I can't believe that the sight in the ring laser gyro is a proof of
They're
Earth
not
turn.
similar devices. It's completely irrelevant.
I agree with you. I totally.
Then why would you bring it up? It doesn't matter what they do. They're different devices.
I didn't bring it up.
It's like saying, oh yeah, the solar panel should be doing exactly the same as that engine over there.
Arwin,
It's just wrong. It's
the ball is
comparing apples with oranges.
I think it might be because you came in late, Arwin. So what's happened is Jose's been in Discord and they've given him answers to all of the housekeeping questions. So at the moment we're on axial rotation. It's only question 2. We're at 30 minutes into the show pretty much. So either way, let's just move on to distance to the sun. Jose.
Boom, I got distance to the sun. I was presented with 2 arguments first, and they say, scratch those. I got the easiest one to present. The transit of Venus proves the distance to the sun.
Well, we all know that the transit of Venus came from Cassini, and the transit of Venus was based on the assumption that Venus was the same size as Earth, and that in itself is based on an assumption that we're a sphere. So if the transit of Venus is based on, if they're going down the Cassini route, then I'm sorry, that's fatally flawed. You can't assume Venus is the same size as Earth. If there's another angle that I'm missing on the transit of Venus, then let's hear it. But as far as I know, that's the argument, and there's the counter. You can't have an assumption that Venus is the same size as Earth. Sorry.
Why not? If you can assume R, then why not assume that?
No, he said that too. It's also based on the assumption that Earth is a sphere with a radius value to give Venus the same radius value as Earth. So it's like another begging the question on steroids.
Yeah, begging the question and begging the question of the question.
Yeah, I was mentioned.
It is begging the question squared.
I was mentioned.
Yeah, I like that.
And radar
Begging the question
also.
squared. I'm going to nick that. That's epic. Begging the question squared.
Yes. 14 October 2018, Arwin.
Sorry, Jose, what were you saying then?
I was mentioned before the transit of Venus. They told me not to mention parallax and radars.
Parallax and what?
And radar. Radar, something about radar bouncing or something like that.
Well, I've spent a lot of time reading about this radar bounce. And believe me, this is not by any way clear cut that they got what they say they got. Because nobody agreed that they were seeing the ping bounce from Venus at all, right? It caused that much problem that JPL got involved. Some bloke by the name of Bob from JPL. He was the one that said, oh yeah, that's the ping data, that's the bounce, that's what you should be looking for, and that's what you found. And it was only when he said that they all then said, oh, right, okay, then that's okay. So somebody had put the name to it. Now it's JPL, right? But the question to it is, how do they know where they were looking for the ping bounce? Because we were told that it was, I think it was like 3 minutes and 16 seconds or whatever it was. I can't remember the duration. But they were told specifically to look in a particular place for this bounced reflected signal. Well, how do they know that the signal hadn't already been bounced back and they'd completely missed it by virtue of looking in the wrong place? Or it hadn't never come back at all and they're looking for a needle in a haystack that's not actually there? Because what they've had to do to get this radar bounce was magnify and amplify the background noise of the like space, because space has got noise to its frequencies. They've got to amplify the hell out of all that background noise in the hope of finding that ping data. But they never found it, and they argued over it, and it was only when Bob from JPL told them that's where it was, and it was right. But how do they know where to look? Because they couldn't identify the ping by looking for the ping. They were told to look in a specific place. Well, where did that come from? Because how would you know that unless you could see where the ping was? In other words, a flat line across the graph, and then a ping where the ping was, and then a continuation of the flat line. Unless you could identify the ping like that, you are not going to know where the ping is. So they were told to look at a certain timestamp. But because of that reason, it's like, well, how do you know that the ping hasn't already been and gone or never come back in the first place? But they were told specifically to look in an area for this time delay, for this ping. Well, how? How do you know that? Why? Where's the proof that this is true? Now, notwithstanding the fact that they couldn't agree on what they said that they were looking at, it's the fact that they were told to look at a certain timestamp for this ping bounce, and none of them agreed. It was only when Bob from JPL got into it that's when they started to start forming the consensus. But the question still remains: how do you know that that's how long the ping takes to come back? Where does that number come from? Because they can't isolate the ping. If they're looking for the ping, they can't see it without amplifying the hell out of it. So it's not a credible argument as far as I can see so far, based on what I'm being told. For this ping data, it doesn't seem to be a credible argument because they're told where to look for it and then they still can't find it. So I don't even accept that. So if anybody's got anything better than that for the ping data or for the transit of Venus, please let me know, because this is going to form one of the key questions, because it is what we get told at the age of about 10 when we're in school, that the sun is 93 million miles away. I don't think it is. It seems to be nonsense. Music Freak MC.
So should we move on? Any more evidence for the distance to the sun, or was that it, Jose?
How's it going?
That's it. Yeah.
Yo.
Hey, how you doing, Music? Yeah, I just want to let everybody know I'm not reading into YouTube chat, not reading into any Discord or Facebook, any chat. So I'm just here on the Hangout. It's the only page open, and I got my notes written. So I cannot defend these points. I will present them. If somebody got a better explanation, if somebody want to argue in favor of these points, please join the show. I am being a messenger today. I don't like doing this, but I find it as a good thought exercise to see what can be explained in a better way,
Yeah.
So what about molten iron core then? Any scientific evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the center of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Yes, I have brought this point before just because I have heard it, but I was brought this point today. It was seismic waves. The vibrations, you look at this and you know what happens inside just because of the vibration, the seismic waves.
The Kohler super deep borehole seismic reflection tests proved wrong. They predicted, based on seismology, that the density of the rock would increase as it got further down, and they were not expecting a sudden decrease in density of the rock as they got further down. And they were also not expecting water. And thirdly, they didn't expect to get boiling hydrogen mud. That was not part of the predictions based on seismology. So if that's the best that they've got for the molten iron core, sorry, but the Kohler super deep borehole proves that seismology was totally and utterly unreliable. And if that's what you're telling people lies, because this is, I mean, I've said this loads of times. The Kohler super deep borehole did not get accurate predictions from seismology, I'm afraid. Debunked.
Any more?
That's it.
That it? The evidence for a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the center of a presupposed spherical Earth, and what they've given you is seismology. Is that it?
Yes, sir, indeed.
They teach this to children, people of the audience. Just to make that clear. Okay.
Is it worth bringing up them seismology papers, Nathan, and showing it, or just accept it on face value that you can find them yourself just by searching for it? Because it clearly states that the seismology reports did not predict the density of rock getting less. They predicted that it would get more, but when they pulled the core samples out, it got less significantly immediately after a certain depth, and they weren't expecting it. They weren't expecting water. It's just nonsense. Seismology is nonsense. It's like that spectroscopy point that you brought up with the telescope and the fit bird.
Yeah, if someone wants to challenge it, they're welcome to, Anthony. You don't have to present it if someone feels that if it comes to that later stage, or someone came on and said, you're just lying, it got more and more dense as they drilled. Okay, well, let's have a look. But till then, I'm happy to just accept it on face value. Should we move on to scientific evidence of gravity?
Can I just say, this is quite impressive, Anthony. You've given coherent answers for, everything that's been put forward. I mean, it seems like you're going to, be stuck at some point, but no. This is great. Continue, please.
Well, you're obviously not watching the show very much, Spurs.
No, I watched the show, and I'm just putting it out there that what I'm thinking of is that when you go to university, you will be prepared, ready for what's to come. So this is like preparation, right? So all that you've done over the years, all that we've been looking at, will put you in good stead, in very good stead. I can't see how they're going to be able to rebut on any of what you're saying right now, So It's great.
It's
what I can see, yeah, Anthony, you might be counter argue with your presentation with just these simple points that are the most basic points for evidence proof in quotes of what we know as for right now. These are some of the basic, arguments. So you got answers for them. I'm happy for that.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not going to go in there and say that the Earth's flat. I'm going to go in there and say you guys can't prove that we live on a sphere, which is a different argument. But nonetheless, I mean, if seismology is the ball Earthers, I'm more worried about people like Al Kay, for example, that go in there thinking that the Earth's a ball and rely on these people to tell them the answers to the questions. And then when they're getting told these answers, and they're immediately debunked straight away because of their own ignorance, they don't realize it's been debunked straight away. It's wrong. They'll go away believing that seismology is proof that the Earth's got a molten iron core. Sorry, but no, that's not credible. That's not a good answer. Sorry.
No, we're not finished there, are we?
Gravity.
No, not yet.
Not yet, no?
Oh, we've got a new Arwin.
Oh.
Quick, snipe him. Someone get him.
Got him.
I've got him, but is the right Arwin still here?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
I'm just saying.
If there's a stock of me,
it just sounds like you're preparing for an exam. Like when people ask you a question, they prepare me for an exam, and they give you another question, you just answer them, and you're answering them just like that. So it's just impressive. I'm just saying that you're well prepared, basically. Yeah, let's continue.
I have a plea for a truce for today. Please Arwin, do not interject on the gravity point until at least we get to the end of the housekeeping, please.
I've left it till last, in case you couldn't tell.
Okay.
What about the presupposition of R? Did they have anything at all for that? That's the one I'm most interested in.
Yes.
Excellent.
And then we jump to gravity last, right? So for R, the R value, I got the one, and I say this is gonna be dismissed really quick. It's photography, but wait, photography from space, from satellite, from the ISS, everything.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Yeah, but wait, this is a good one. They say, okay, by using if any observations match the predictions of the curve calculator, that will be mixed with curve calculator. That's the evidence for R.
It's already got R. It's already got R in the calculator. So if you go to the calculator, you don't need any photos, you don't need anything. Anybody can do this. If you want to go and prove you're on a sphere, according to this calculator, you type in values into a calculator that already knows you're on a sphere. So they don't need the calculator to get a radius value. It's already got a radius value. It's a begging the question fallacy. Why would you need something that's already got the value? Oh, because it correlates well when we completely, entirely ignore perspective and only deal in actual sizes of things. We don't account for the angle that you view it at. We don't account for the angular size reduction at distance. We don't account for anything to do with perspective. We just hijack it. Presuppose you're on a ball with a radius value and then let you go at it with your really important heights and your really important distances. The radius, the thing you're trying to prove, we've got that pegged already. Just ignore that though. Yeah? We're just looking for correlation here when we ignore perspective. Bollocks! That's the best they can do for proof of radius after 2,000 years. Mick West's calculator. What an absolute outrage. These people are deluded. They're so religiously indoctrinated that they think begging the question, perspective hijacking, proof of nothing curve calculator gives them proof of radius when it's already got one. What kind of idiots are you dealing with, Jose?
Hey, man, I got to deal with that.
We just ask the questions, Nathan. We just ask the questions,
Oh, but there's another point, because you can see the Chicago skyline from the Lake Michigan, that being a superior mirage. So that proves the R.
And when it doesn't work, suddenly because the model with a presupposed radius inserted into it, when it doesn't work, suddenly we have to beg the question again. Then we need begging the question squared. We need 7/6R to come to the rescue, to loom up these buildings that we obviously and observably see, and become very interesting. They're suddenly an observed phenomena because a model says they shouldn't be there. No. We just see these concrete nouns and no explanation whatsoever is required on our part as flat earthers. It's there, we see it, no explanation required. For your average Johnny Globehead, suddenly that presupposition of an R value becomes really interesting. Suddenly a building becomes an observed phenomena, something that needs to have the science applied to it. No, just a building that we just see. Just because your holy R value says we shouldn't see it means nothing. We don't live on a bloody model.
Yeah, and they try to stay away from the celestial bodies observations, which I know the transits of Venus because of the distance to the sun. That was one. But then they brought Polaris over this point also. They say you observe Polaris drop 1 degree every 69 miles. I've heard that before.
Yeah,
So
but
they say
that means
proves
we're on a slope.
Yeah, we tried to point that out. But what you just said there, Nathan, is key. They take what is actually there as a phenomenon.
Okay.
They're like, well, how could that possibly be there? And they
You
have
real Rumpus?
Hey, Rumpus.
Oh, Rumpus, fantastic.
Hello, Rumpus. How nice of you to join.
It is nice of me, isn't it? I'm very considerate. I shouldn't really, but I...
Thanks. Could you wait?
Yeah,
we
just
gonna
give us
have a nice
1 minute, Rumpus. Before you interject, Rumpus, we're gonna go to one more point, gravity, after we finish this R value point.
Same goes
How
for you,
well
Arwin.
do you think Anthony's doing?
Same goes for you, Arwin. So, last but not least, any scientific evidence of gravity?
Oh,
This one is gonna be good because I heard just one word, siphon. And I say, explain, please. They say, if let's say you're going to pull gas off a car using a hose to put it in a gallon, you suck a little bit, and then the gravity will do the rest. Then you lift the hose up, and the gravity will take care of just bringing it back to rest. So they say the gravity will be proven by siphon.
Right.
So, what was the example they said, siphon? A what?
Let's say you got 2 gallons. One with water, one empty. You put a piece of hose in it, and you absorb. You absorb a little bit when the water start coming up. The water start coming out in the other side. Then you lift the hose, and then the gravity will take care of bringing the water back down to the rest.
Yeah, but it doesn't work when the two bottles are on the same level. One has to be higher than the other, and that's obviously because you need the density of the fluid that you're siphoning from.
Nothing to do with density.
Well, do you agree that it doesn't work when they're at the same level?
Yes, but it's nothing to do with density.
Do you agree with this point?
Sorry, just before you
Rumpus,
get
that
into it, guys, can I just say a quick
siphon
hello?
will
Sorry, just before you get into it.
Can
Hi,
actually
Zinder.
work.
Hold on,
It all
Arwin.
depends
Hold on,
on
hold
how
on,
much
hold on.
vacuum is formed in the
Arwin,
tube.
hold on. I just
Hold
want
on,
to say hello to Zinder. Hello, Zinder.
Yeah.
Good to have you.
Hi.
Good to have you. Okay.
Right, have at it.
Right. So yeah.
Rumpus, do you agree with this
It doesn't
point of the
need to
siphon?
be higher, okay? It
gravity?
can be lower. It all depends on the flow of the water in the tube.
One has to be lower than the other.
Because of, well, basically the pulling work. How do you say? It's like a vacuum. It's not. It's the flow in the tube just creates a vacuum, basically forcing all the liquid to basically keep on moving. So once you get it moving, it doesn't even matter that much if it's going upward or downward, as long as it keeps moving and has some part that goes downward, then that downward part will actually maintain the vacuum pull of the rest, and it can flow upwards. Yes,
it won't.
You can do this yourself.
It has to be below, Arwin, because that's the only way the flow will continue.
No, it doesn't need to be.
Yes, it does.
No, it just needs the tube needs to go downward at some point.
It has to, the bottom of the tube has to be below the top of the thing it's siphoning from.
Do you think the pressure will be making a difference on this test?
What pressure?
Air pressure.
Going.
No, it's not relevant to the siphoning issue.
If it was down to gravity, it wouldn't need to be at the same a different level. You'd be able to do it at the same level because gravity would do it for you.
There'll be no siphoning effect if there's no gravity. There'll be no movement at all.
No, that's not true.
It is absolutely true. You're an idiot.
So how would you prove that assertion then? Because you would then prove
do it on a space station. If you had a bowl of water and you had something, whatever you decide below is, and you would find nothing would happen.
Stop. Hands up on the panel. Who has access to the space station?
You don't need a space station
Sorry,
for his
Cinder,
example.
is that a no? I don't have access. That's the question. Do you have access to the space station? Hold on. You've told us. He's asked you a question. Shut up.
It doesn't exist.
Shut up. So he's asked you a question.
I want to know.
Okay, let's shut Rumpus up. He's been in 2 minutes and he can't help but talk over me when I come to the devastating destruction of his argument. He's been asked a very simple question. How can I do this? How can you demonstrate this to be true? His answer is go to the space station. Now I want to establish on the panel who has access to do what Rumpus has suggested. I don't want you to Rumpus. I want people to answer.
Other people can go, Nathan. We don't have to.
Right, let's shut Rumpus up again. This isn't a question just for Rumpus. It's a question for the entire panel. Not only Rumpus will speak, others will speak. Do you understand?
I'll probably go to where the ISS is. That pool is actually in the Netherlands, so
Hey,
I
Event
could
Horizon.
go.
I just need an answer from everyone on the panel who has access to the space station to do as Rumpus has suggested.
Nope.
Nope.
Irrelevant. But utterly irrelevant. Superfluous point.
Let's just point out that Rumpus has suggested that in order to validate what he claims, we need to go to the space station. I'm asking who has access, and he's saying it's irrelevant.
Rumpus, can you do the same on a zero-G flight? Because this...
Excellent. Right, let's do it again. Who here
Well, it costs
has...
like
Hold on.
$5,000.
Hold
Yeah,
on.
so we can do that. Yes.
Hold on. Let's just establish...
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's
Good point.
just
Well done,
establish the next point. Rumpus is going to Rumpus me again when he does the same thing. So, I'll ask the question to the panel. Who has access to the Vomit Comet?
Not me. Everybody does.
Yeah, I will.
Sorry, you have access to the Vomit Comet, Arwin.
Well, not currently, but I will, and I can.
Sorry, that's
You
a
can.
no.
You can actually
That's a
pay
no.
for that.
Who has
yes,
access?
it is possible.
Yes. So
Just as you can take a flight to Mongolia, you could get
You've
access
been
to the
invalidated
Vomit
again, Nathan,
Sorry,
you moron.
who on the panel has access to the Vomit Comet?
I do.
So show me your access to the Vomit Comet, please, Arwin.
Oh, just because I have access to it doesn't mean I could just step right in there.
Who can just
I do
step
have
right
access. You
into
can
the
pay
Vomit?
for it. I
Right,
can go
Arwin,
to it and I
let's
can do
rephrase
it.
it using
That's
your
called
words.
access.
Let's use your words. Who can step right in to the Vomit Comet?
Not flying at the moment.
Excuse me. Who has access to the Vomit Comet?
Anyone that pays
You're
for
desperate,
it.
Nathan. You're really
Sorry,
desperate
I'm not
here.
getting a clear yes or no from anybody. Who can
Yeah,
step
you-
right
a
on to
stupid
do...
question.
Let's just
It's
shut you
stupid.
up and point out to the audience that this is the second time Rumpus has asserted that we should do something and go somewhere to do it. The Vomit Comet. I'm asking who's got access. Rumpus's answer is they're not flying, so we couldn't do it even if we wanted to. Now I want
Just
to
for
ask
this second,
somebody
isn't it?
else other than Rumpus. Who else can jump right onto the Vomit Comet and do this as Rumpus has suggested?
All right, not
Yawn.
right now, but I can.
Am I going to get an
It's
answer
like-
from anybody other
You
than
get
Rumpus and
practice,
Arwin?
Nathan.
Excuse me, Rumpus and Arwin, I've had your answer. I'd like other people to give their answer, please. Not Rumpus, not Arwin. You've told us. Thank you for your answers. Now, other than Rumpus and Arwin, who can jump right on that Vomit Comet?
No.
No.
Not right now, no.
Not I, not I.
Seems to
Not
be a bit
me.
of a problem, Rumpus. Bit of a problem with
Not
your
a problem.
example of how we
Not a
could
problem.
achieve this. Bit of a problem, Rumpus. Do you see
Not
the
a problem at all.
No problem at all.
Nathan.
None of us can do it! You absolute idiot! What kind of moron are you? It's not a problem that none of us can do it. Oh, right, so let's just theorise it with Rumpus the Bonehead while he tells us about what theoretically might happen. If we could do it!
We
Did
can
you
do
invent
it.
the
We
computer,
can
Nathan?
go into
Oh,
that.
can
right.
we? You can hop
can
right
pay
on,
for
can
it.
you,
Did
Arwin?
Yes.
you invent your computer?
It's
You can
public.
hop right on it, can you, Arwin? Oh, yeah, until I ask you if you can hop right on it, and then you tell me that you can't hop right on it.
So you didn't invent a car, Nathan, so therefore
Oh,
cars
here we
can't
go, a
exist. You haven't been to Mongolia, therefore
non
Mongolia
sequitur.
doesn't-
So this will be a non sequitur. So I will interject, shut up Rumpus, and point out that this is the second example of how to demonstrate what he has claimed that we cannot do.
Other people can, Nathan.
Oh, other people. Let's trust in the other people. Let's just trust what science says. Even though he's specifically been asked how he can validate it, we're going to trust other people.
Well, I've seen it happen live in front of my face, talking.
I don't
People
care.
are paid to
People
do
on
this.
That
that
wasn't the
station when I was,
question.
like,
And
11.
shut up. Let's hear Anthony
And I
ask.
trust
Shut
that
up.
live interaction
Shut
a lot.
up, Arwin.
And
I want
will
the
actually
question
do
to
it
be asked
myself
again.
At some point.
You're
So,
just
yeah.
rumpusing, Arwin. You're just as bad as Rumpus. Arwin,
Yeah, basically,
I
based on
want the
evidence,
question asked
realise
again.
You can't do everything.
Let's shut him up again. So, I've asked for the question to be repeated so we can see if Rumpus gives us a third option that we could actually do to validate his claim. So, Anthony, can you ask the question again?
You can do it.
Let's have the question again.
Which question you're on about?
The question, I can't bloody remember the question now.
Dear. Oh, little Nathan. Came out with a deflection that didn't work.
No, you said we could do something in the vomit comet, and you said we could do it in the space station. What was it you were saying we could do?
That's not possible. But the vomit comet can definitely be done.
I need to get a word in before this gets too all over the place. Really quick. I got an extra question for the housekeeping. This was by consensus. Everybody say you have to ask this question. Somebody's gonna get very angry at it, but I have to ask it. Do I have the green light to ask it?
Go ahead.
Do what you want.
Okay. Any proof of hair growth behind Nathan's head?
Great question. Not exactly related to flat Earth, but very comedic.
Okay, I got it out.
A bit like your question about the vomit comet.
Why would you actually ask
So what are we
that
doing on the
question?
vomit comet? What are we doing on it, Rumpus?
What were we doing?
You can go on a plane to another country. You can't.
Your name's
You don't
not
own the
Rumpus,
plane.
Arwin.
But you can go on a plane. You can pay for it.
Your name
You can
Rumpus,
go
Arwin?
there. We can
Sorry, you
assume
called
that.
Rumpus now, are you,
Same
Arwin?
goes for the
You
vomit
seem to have a bit of a
comet. You
verbal
can't pay
diarrhea
for it.
problem
You
today,
cannot
Arwin.
do
Your
that.
name's not Rumpus.
We were
What are we
busy
doing on that
siphoning
vomit
stuff,
comet,
as I recall,
Rumpus?
was the scenario we were describing.
Sorry, I
Rumpus.
didn't hear you. Sorry. Say again.
Yes, Anthony, what do you want?
I'd like to ask you a question going back a couple of shows because we're
That's
not.
fine.
But I'd really like a back and forth where we have a conversation without
Well,
interruption.
Yeah. Oh, no, so why do you keep on interrupting me, Anthony? Prevent me from giving you explanations then?
Well, I was actually aiming that at Arwin. I was hoping that me and you could have a conversation.
Well, that's fine. I'm always happy to give you turn. I'm always happy to hear your answers. I'm even happy to hear Nathan that ask me things and return and me stop and then give him a chance to
That's
answer.
not the
I'm happy
case
with
now,
that.
is it, Rumpus?
Sorry?
It's not the case. He wasn't
What's not the
addressing
case?
you.
Arwin, if you wouldn't mind watching the back door for me while I do this, I want to know. I've got a very precise question that requires a very precise answer, and you're the man for it because I don't know what the answer is, and I'm asking you what is the answer.
Right, of course.
So
I'm
I'll take
sure you'll not have a direct response,
I
right?
always give a direct response, Arwin.
I'm not talking to you, Rumpus, and neither is Riley.
I am talking to Arwin.
He was talking to me. What are
I
you
am talking
about?
to him, Arwin, and I'm not talking to you at this moment. So, Rumpus, we know that helium balloons, when they're in a vacuum chamber, we know that when you remove the air from the vacuum chamber, we know that the helium balloons drop. Yeah?
So they got mass, yeah, and therefore they got weight, yeah.
Correct. And we also know that they get bigger. Yeah?
Yeah, because the pressure, because obviously in comparison to what they were in the air, yes, because they're obviously not surrounded by the air pressure, so indeed they expand because there's not an air pressure the other side. So obviously inside there, I don't know how many atmospheres you fill a balloon to, might be 2 or 3 atmospheres. Then so that means there's only a difference of 2 or 3 atmospheres between the inside and the outside of the balloon. But if you remove the outside pressure, then suddenly you've got an extra atmosphere of pressure, so it means it will expand.
Sure. Nathan, are we presenting this? Can the audience see?
Is this from Cody's lab?
Cody's lab, yeah.
Okay.
Which one am I supposed to be? There's quite a few people. Who do you want? What am I supposed to be presenting?
Just present my screen so that the audience can see it. I want Rumpus to talk me through.
Do I
what's
have to
going
click
happen.
on your thing, or is it going to appear
click
here?
on Sleeping
Yeah,
Warrior
you
if you're
click
in the
on it.
Hangout.
Okay.
So we've got these little helium water bombs, and he puts them
Water
inside
bombs?
the vac chamber.
Sorry, they're water bombs, you say?
Yeah, they're only small because he needs a light mass to because
So they're not water. Sorry, is the water involved?
Balloon type, Rumpus. Stop nipping.
No,
I didn't know. So, Arwin, don't be such a sarcastic wanker. I was just asking a simple question. I didn't know.
Who's talking, man?
Arwin,
Shut up, Arwin. I was just asking a reasonable question. I didn't know what water bomb meant.
Yeah, they're
Small
the little
type of
water
balloon.
balloons, but they're not got water in them. They've got
Right.
helium in them.
That's all I wanted to know. Thanks, Arwin, for being a git. Anyway, carry on, Anthony.
Right. So basically, as he removes the air out of the chamber, you can see that basically they get bigger, and then once the air's removed enough, one of them drops down, and then you have the other one eventually because they're still getting bigger. The other one eventually drops down. But my question is, whilst he's explaining what's going on here, which we all understand what's going on, the balloon on the right bursts. Now that means that the helium now goes into the vacuum chamber, correct?
Yes.
So we've got the remnants of the balloon that's now on the inside of the floor.
Yeah.
What's actually happened to the helium that was in the balloon? What does it do? Does it fill the container?
It does fill the whole container. Yes.
It fills the container as whole, right?
Yes.
And it's evenly spaced out. It doesn't gather at the bottom on the floor, no?
It's because there's gravity there. It will be a very, very, very slight, barely measurable extra density near the bottom, just like when like Mount Everest is less dense up there and it's dense down here. So there'll be a similar gradient, but it'll be so tiny it would be next to impossible to measure.
So just
What?
clarify, will there be
Sorry.
a line at the bottom where there's helium or not?
It'll be only a difference of a few molecules or something. You can ignore it. Let's ignore it. Okay, let's do what engineers do. It's effectively zero, but it's not quite zero. But effectively, from the point of the view of this experiment, there is no difference between the top and the density of the top and the
What
density
you're
of the
looking
bottom.
for is insignificant.
So just before the balloon bursts, I'll play this because you need to watch what happens.
Okay.
Just before the balloon bursts, the balloon was stood upright in a vertical position, but when the balloon did burst, for some reason, it now seems to have got heavier, and it seems to now be on its side. Is that a coincidence, or is that caused by the balloon bursting? You see, at this point, it's just a little, the little balloon knot at the bottom.
Right.
That's it's stood up on, clearly.
Yeah,
but when the
'cause
balloon bursts,
yes.
you can see that for some reason now it seems to have got significantly heavier, and it's now on its side.
Yeah.
Is that coincidence, or is that caused by something?
Yeah, it is caused by something. You know what? The rubber piece, the end, when it's completely vacuum or almost vacuum around it, that one part is a lot heavier than the rest of the balloon. But when one bursts, and I can't explain.
No, I'm asking.
Okay, fine.
I'm asking Rumpus because I can normally have a conversation with him. Right. So what's going on? Is this just caused by? Is this basically the same position it would have been in, or has this got heavier? It just appears to be heavier. That's all. I'm not. It's not a gotcha. I'm asking you what is going on. Because you can see that it's only just touching the tip of it now.
Yes.
But when the balloon bursts, boosh.
Well, obviously it's been disturbed. You can see there's a violent explosion in there, obviously, and it's knocked. I think possibly it's just the fact it's knocked it on its side, knocked it to the side. Whereas it was because when the gas was in there, I don't know what. Of course, we don't know what stage of the vacuum this was. Obviously, that's going to be the denser bit at the bottom, so it's going to adopt that the helium's going up and the dense bit is down at the bottom. So, but when it blew up, that means we've now got the pressure has reduced. Gone up. Sorry, from where it was, because presumably it was near a vacuum. Now it's got more. It's increased by the volume. So that what you saw was the volume of the balloon. All the helium that is now in the chamber. So there's that much extra gas in there. Presumably it was near being a vacuum. So I don't know what proportion, it may have sort of quadrupled the amount of gas in there that there was in there before. That's a random guess.
Okay, that's okay.
Scale of things.
So you'd say that this hasn't got relatively more dense then? It was just a coincidence to do
no, that hasn't changed and its density, no.
Okay.
But you're right, but you are right in saying that the chamber's now changed. It's now got a lot more gas in it than it did before. So the relative density difference has changed, and it's now, which would mean...
So it's less of a vacuum than what it was before.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, because it burst. Right. So we've now released all that helium that was in the balloon is now in the chamber, filling up, and it's increased the pressure in the chamber.
That's okay. I'm with you. I agree. I don't have a problem with that.
Sorry. Just before you go on, I'm really sorry to interrupt. Just two things. So, can you just put the volume on and check? Is the compressor running? In other words, are they just sucking the helium out of the chamber as soon as it pops?
Well, be quiet. Let me listen. No, he's not got it. He's turned it off. He's just released the valve to let the air back in.
Right. Well, then that brings me on to my second point. So you said a bit less of a vacuum. Well, no.
So if it's less of a vacuum, shouldn't this
that's
then...
my point. It's not.
Shouldn't that get more buoyant?
Yes. It should. Yes.
Okay. Well, that wasn't my question. So
I mean, so that's rather contradict. Yes, I mean, I claim it's less of a vacuum, but you're right. You're absolutely correct there. My God, you're absolutely right about something. By letting, if the pressure has increased in there, it would become more buoyant. So perhaps what I'm claiming there, perhaps it didn't go pop when we don't know what pressure this occurred at. So I don't know what the relative pressure to the balloon versus the pressure outside is. Yeah. So that does imply the fact that it's lying down like that, whereas before it was upright. Even though it might be, there might be some issues to it being knocked over, it does imply that in fact that it should be more buoyant if there was less of a vacuum in there, more air in there. Indeed, it would be more buoyant. So possibly what I've described is an error. But
sorry to interrupt again. It's not air that's going in. So both balloons.
We said it released the valve.
Sorry,
someone said it released the valve. So it's letting air. When you release the valve, it's letting air.
No.
Yeah, but
sorry. Let's just get clarity. So no, he's evacuated the chamber, and then he's got 2 helium balloons in. One bursts. Therefore, what
Yeah,
you
someone
then
said they released the
I haven't
valve.
finished. When it bursts, you then have helium pressure in the chamber. You don't have air pressure.
Yeah, but someone said they released the valve.
Nobody said that.
I was asked, was the compressor running?
The compressor's been closed.
Compressor
It's just a
running.
vacuum. So once the balloon pops, it's no longer a helium-filled balloon in a vacuum. It's just helium pressure in a chamber.
Well, someone said they released the valve. Is that
Nobody
said
said they released the valve.
Right, well, in which case you've got a different scenario now.
Hang on. At the time the balloon
Let's
pops,
just get clarity on
the
this.
valve
This is
shut.
important. Sorry, Anthony. Did you at any stage say they released the valve?
Yeah, after. When you asked me, when the balloon pops, the conditions are the compressor is not running and the valve is shut.
Right, so we have
it's
helium
not being
pressure
released.
inside the
What?
chamber. Okay.
Yeah, so at the point of popping, if they don't do anything different with the compressor, indeed, there's all the helium that was in the balloon will now fill the chamber, and therefore the pressure in there would increase in the chamber, not decrease, because you've
Okay.
that is
Now we'll get into my question because
Right,
I just wanted the explanation for what was going on there.
Okay,
But if the explanation is that the helium that was in the balloon has now filled the inside of the vacuum chamber.
And if the compressor's still going, of course, it'll be sucking it out rapidly.
Sure, I'm with you, but I'm all right. The answer to my question at this point was that it's filled the container evenly, right? That's the bit I wanted to check. I wanted to see whether or not it went to the floor or whether it evenly filled the container.
It evenly filled
and
the container,
reduced the vacuum by a little bit. That's what I'm getting at.
That's what I believe has happened.
No,
yes.
sorry,
I
I've got to
agree. I'm
interject
not
again.
against you with that. This is my question.
Sorry, Anthony, I've got to say that again. It's either a vacuum or it's got gas pressure. So once the balloon pops, you've then got a gas
Who
pressure
says
in there.
this is a vacuum? It's just being decompressed. We don't know it's got to a pure vacuum yet.
Right, it's not a vacuum
that's
if it's
the
got a
point.
pressure. Then it's gas pressure, not a vacuum.
All we know is that there was a lower pressure in there. The balloon burst, and that would have increased the pressure briefly. And presumably the compressor, if it's still going, would have sucked that out very quickly.
But it's not.
Yeah, he's right. He's right. We're all right at this point. We don't know whether it was a full vacuum or whether it was just a
You don't know
differential.
anything here.
But this is my question. Let's say that for the sake of this video that this is a vacuum. Okay, let's say it was the vacuum, and let's call this space. We have this blob that we could call Earth. My question is, how does a pressurized system exist inside a vacuum without a membrane of some kind, Rumpus? Because this could be
Gravity.
Earth.
The Earth is very big, exerts a very large gravitational pull. That's why if you jump off the top of your flat or whatever, you are attracted to the ground by the gravitational force. And similarly, the molecules that make up the atmosphere are all, you can think of as having little elastic bands on them. They're all being pulled towards the center of the Earth. And that's how they're contained. And the Earth is very big, therefore it exerts a very, very large gravitational pull.
Can you prove that point?
Very, very simple. I don't understand why. This vacuum pressure is one of your worst arguments.
No,
Sorry,
have
hold
you
on
got
a
any
second.
evidence to prove that?
Hold on, Anthony.
doesn't
Hold
have
on,
a
Anthony.
large
Hold on.
gravitational
Owen.
pull.
Hold on.
Constant.
Owen. Anthony, hold on. Warren, please can you repeat your question?
Can you prove that point?
Yeah, that was mine.
Yeah, if you take a pressure measuring device upwards, as has been done in various balloons and in on rockets and things, you find the pressure goes up down to zero. Therefore, we know it goes.
Sorry, I've just hold on, Anthony. Who has access to this space rocket?
Science does, Nathan.
Sorry, shut up, Rumpus. This is the third time you have done this. You have been asked how we can demonstrate something. I'll say it nice and calmly while you rumpus the hangout. You have been asked how this can be demonstrated, and you have told us to jump on a rocket. I'm now going to ask all of the panel who has access to do this. You can go first, if you like. You can go first with your answer, Rumpus. Have you got access?
You don't have to do it. Science has done it. You're an idiot.
Sorry,
Rumpus,
whether Anthony, hold on, please, Anthony.
It's been measured, Anthony. It's been measured.
Right, Anthony, you're assisting in rumpusing me now. Right, Rumpus.
Science has done this.
I will
Anthony.
shut you up or kick you out because I'm asking the panel. You can go first with
You're
your
talking about
answer.
reality, you're trying to censor
I
reality,
will
Nathan.
ask the panel, and if you
I
don't
know
let
you like
me,
to
I will
censor
kick you
reality.
out. Right, the panel is going to be asked a question. Don't stop them from answering the question or me asking it.
Okay.
Right, panel. Who has access to travel up to the vacuum of space in a rocket?
Nope.
Well, not me personally.
Nobody.
Science does.
Sorry, Rumpus,
Science
you
is
already
not a
gave your
person.
answer. That wasn't everybody. You can't seem to control yourself.
We've been finished.
I can't.
Anybody else?
Not I.
So, okay, Rumpus, it would seem this is the third time you've been asked how we can demonstrate something. I haven't finished my sentence. Third time you have asked us how we can do something, and we can't actually do it.
Science can.
Sorry, science is a methodology for establishing a cause and effect relationship. What do you mean science can? What are you talking about?
Science is much more than that, you idiot.
Science is not a person.
Science has got peer review processes in it. It's got the science is all about.
Right, now we're on to talking about science. Let's shut them all up and bring the audience back on track while Rumpus talks shite about what science is and isn't, which is not the point. So, the point is, we have asked you how it is possible if we theorise that this Earth-shaped picture now on screen, in place of the balloon, how is it possible to demonstrate that that which has gas pressure in your world is possible next to a vacuum, given that you've just seen a demonstration of entropy?
A, you don't know what entropy is. B, I've explained...
Don't tell me what I don't know. Give us a demonstration of a gas pressure being maintained without a container by virtue.
You asked me this before, and I gave an answer before. Why are you asking me again?
Okay, let's point out to the audience that is rumpusing me. I'm not getting to ask my question, which is a repeat of the question he's dodged.
Go on then, go on. Do it again.
Don't need to give me permission. It's my show.
I do.
So, can you demonstrate gas pressure being maintained without a container by way of gravity?
Yes.
Rumpus telling pressure gradient.
Yes, you have got a picture there that shows the density of the atmosphere decreasing and going to space and going to nothing.
I want a picture. No, I want a demonstration.
Hold on. What, you want me to do an experiment?
No, hang on. You have to have the pressure, right? How are you going to show pressure in a vacuum without a membrane?
Well, you take up a pressure measuring device. If I was to ask Nathan what the pressure was in his living room...
I've already demolished this. So, let's shut him up and demolish it again. Rumpus, none of us have got access to a rocket. None of us have got access to the Vomit Comet. And none of us have got access to the space station. Please stop asserting that we can go up with a pressure measuring tool when we don't have access to rockets. Please, can you stop asserting that we can do it, and when we point out that we can't, telling us that science can do it for us, when that's not what you're being asked.
An answer, and I was censored. I got 3 words into an answer, and I was censored. If you take a pressure measuring device, put it in your living room, you will find it'll give you a certain value. Take it up into a rocket, as science does, up into you personally.
Let's shut him up again. Nobody has access to rockets.
Science does,
Yeah, you get really angry. Start telling me about what science can do when it's an establishing of a cause and effect relationship. You tell me that science can do it, you complete blathering muppet. Yeah, get shouty. Shout at me. We're destroying your religion, Rumpus. So I'll calmly tell the audience that you're getting very angry when I point out none of us can go up on rockets because we don't have
Irrelevant,
them.
Who cares?
Yeah, and you talk over me when I point this out and say that it's not relevant. It's entirely relevant. We're asking you to validate it. And when you tell us how it can be demonstrated, you give us a methodology that is impossible for us to achieve. You may think it's irrelevant. It's not. It's the demolition of your religious belief that science can do these things.
And you can take measurements. You are not capable of taking measurements because you're an idiot.
Yeah, that's an ad hominem attack. So, Rumpus has given us 3 separate examples of things that we cannot do and must trust science to tell us how they're done. He can't give us an example of gas pressure being maintained in a vacuum without a membrane by virtue of gravity. He can just assert his religious belief about it based on what the priests have told him they have done. He can't do it, we can't do it, and every time I point that out, he says it's irrelevant and just rumpuses the living daylights out of the hangout. If he doesn't stop doing it, I'm going to kick him out.
So much for your judgment.
All the authorities are agreeing. All this independent evidence comes together. We can see the pressure gradient of the atmosphere.
Who's we?
Independent evidence from the government that we can't repeat ourselves. It's beautiful, Rumpus.
Arwen, it's not a government. The whole of science in the world.
All the governments are into it, and we can't repeat it.
You're just helping him.
The whole body of science sings the same tune. That's amazing. I'd look into that, Rumpus.
Yeah, it's connected to
they all sing the same tune.
It reflects reality. That's why
Okay, let's ask a couple of questions then. Can I ask a couple of questions then? Rumpus, you haven't given us a demonstration of gas pressure being maintained without a container in a vacuum by way of gravity. You have not demonstrated this to us.
No, I have not conducted an experiment online in my room at the moment. No, I have not done that. That is correct.
Well, where is the experiment?
You couldn't even demonstrate it using other forces to replace gravity with. If you're going to do it in a super fast spinning centrifuge, you're not going to be able to create a vacuum at the center of that. Despite astronomical large forces being applied. Because it doesn't happen.
Let me direct your attention.
Always be strong.
Ignore Arwen for a minute. Just come back to me.
Why? Why?
Nothing you said made any sense.
You're contributing, Arwen. That's why. Every time you do it, Rumpus does it as well. He probably loves you.
Yeah, it encourages.
So he doesn't do it without me then?
Rumpus, how would we validate that a gas pressure can exist in a vacuum without a membrane if we need gravity and we can't demonstrate it? You know, you said you measured it.
Yeah.
How would we prove gravity to be able to give credit to the claim that gravity is the reason for the membrane?
Right. Well, A, we know that there's no membrane, doesn't exist. And B, we can measure gravity. You can go to some scales, Anthony, and you will see the force meter, which is what scales are, showing you a value. So we know that you're attracted to the center of the Earth. We know there's a force there. And the Cavendish experiment can demonstrate that there's attraction, but gravitation.
All right, stop. One point at a time. One point at a time. Let's just do one. So if I get on a set of scales and it measures a value, you're going to say that that's the measurement of the attractive force between the center of the Earth and me, right?
Correct.
That's gravity.
That's correct, yes.
What if I said that that's just measuring the disequilibrium from the medium that I'm in, i.e. air, and that my own mass, whatever that mass is, and it's measuring that disequilibrium?
Well, it has to be a force.
Disequilibrium.
No, it doesn't have to be a force.
It does, because that, Anthony, the scales...
No force equals mass times acceleration.
Anthony, let me finish my sentence. The scales are a force meter. That's what they do. They measure force. That's what scales do. That's what they decide to do.
But if I'm not
Anthony, you interrupted me. Please let me finish. I was only 3 milliseconds. They are force meters. So that is what they measure. So if you say they're measuring something else, you're wrong.
So I'm not moving though, right? You need a moving. Right. You need an accelerated mass for.
No, you don't need an accelerated mass. Anthony, do you understand?
Also, don't you agree with F equals ma then?
Yes, Anthony, and I'll explain it. When in a tug of war, when we have two opposing things pulling, the rope is stationary. Do you accept there are two opposing forces acting on that rope and cancelling one another out? So you have forces in action.
You didn't let me answer.
Please let me finish my sentence.
You didn't let me answer.
Well, I haven't quite finished it. Okay, just 5 more seconds. So you've got two forces in a tug of war pulling on something, and the net force. Now, please remember this: the net force on the rope is 0. So it doesn't have to be moving, but there's no movement. There are still forces again. But the net force. You're
just saying the same thing over again. You've had your 5 seconds. Can you let Anthony speak?
All right. So your answer to you asked me a question, which was, do I agree that if there's a game of tug of war, there are two forces applying? And my answer is yes, provided you accept that you're pointing out that there is a tug of war going on. So if you're going to assert that there's a net force, I want you to show that there's a game of tug of war going on.
Brilliant.
The gravity.
Well done, Anthony. Thank you. That's good question, and that's a very good question. But at least you now understand that two opposing forces can cancel one another out, and so you've got forces present. But because they're
that's not what's just happened. He hasn't just accepted that there are forces present, so that's just bollocks.
No, it's not bollocks, absolutely.
He just said, you've got to show there's a tug of war taking place. And you said, well, now that you understand that if there's a tug of war going place, then we accept that there's forces at play. No, we don't accept that there's forces at play just because he understands what a tug of war is.
There are no forces. So hold on, let me just resolve this with Nathan. So Nathan, you're claiming that in a tug of war, there are no forces in action.
You stated that because you now understand that if there's a tug of war in place, that there are forces here, now, on screen. No, we don't accept... Oh, am I not allowed to respond? Is it because we're demolishing your religion that you're trying to censor reality by talking non-stop? Let's shut him up. Trying to censor reality, aren't you, Rumpus? Yeah, we've got you to concede force equals MA. So, we're going to go from there, and you're not going to censor reality. You can try, but I've got control of the hangout. So all you're achieving by doing this rumpusing...
You're not going to be let... They're not going to let you...
Arwen's in there. Arwen's in there now, contributing to the rumpusing. Thank you, Arwen. Anthony's trying to get to his crescendo, Arwen, and you're rumpusing and helping.
I want to talk about this photograph. I'm very happy to talk about this photograph, but I just want to get Nathan to accept that in a tug of war there are forces in play, but the net force on the rope is 0.
What rope?
Right, tug of war...
What rope?
What do you mean, what rope? Tug of war, you idiot.
Sorry, where's the rope on screen, you absolute retard? You said in a tug of war. So, where's the rope?
Right. We're dealing with a tug of war situation, Nathan. Do you understand?
No, that's the bit that I interrupted and said, no, we don't accept we're dealing with a tug of war just because we understand that in a tug of war there are forces at play. That's what he did last time. That's what I interrupted this time. Now, I'm saying with it actually on screen, where's the rope?
Hold on. I'm getting a principle sorted out, Nathan. So we got to clear.
Oh, are we? We're going to establish a principle and tell us what's what, are we? Are we? No, we're not. There's no tug of war here. There's no rope. There's no cars. There's no tug of war.
Do you understand in a tug of war there are 2 opposing forces, and if the rope is not moving, the net force is 0.
Where's the rope? Show me the rope. Where's the rope? Where's the rope here?
I'm dealing with the tug of war scenario first, then I'll move on to this.
We haven't got tug of war on screen though, have we? That's the problem.
No, but we're dealing with the previous point, Nathan. You didn't seem to understand that forces are at play.
No, that's the point. We're saying there aren't any forces at play, right? And you're saying there are because there's a tug of war. And when I say where's the rope, you stutter a little bit.
I don't stutter at all.
Where's the rope
got a
then?
Stuttery brain.
Where's the rope?
Understand?
Where's the rope?
I'll deal with this. I will deal
Where's
with this.
the rope? Oh, you're going to rumpus rather than
this,
stutter. Rumpus rather than stutter. I'll ask the question again. I'll ask it again. I'll ask it again while you rumpus, or I'll have to shut you up.
I'm trying
You're going to censor reality. Trying to censor reality, are you? So,
are you going to understand?
Are you going to try and censor reality? You're going to try and censor reality? Yeah, you're being demolished, so Rumpus is censoring reality. Rumpus is censoring reality again. Rumpus doesn't like his religion being demolished, so he's trying to censor reality, aren't you, Rumpus? You can't censor reality, Rumpus. Right. Where is the rope? Right, if you keep doing this to me, I'm going to kick you out.
Then I'll move on to this.
Right, yeah, you can't censor reality, and if you keep talking over me like you're doing now, I'm going to kick you out.
I really do actually want to talk about this. I'm very keen on talking about this density.
Let him finish.
Well, he's interrupted me, Anthony. Right. And I've asked him a question which he won't answer, which is, does he understand?
Right, I'll answer it then. Let me answer it.
No, Anthony, could you ask him?
Come on, okay, fair play.
He understands.
No, why are you both rumpusing me? So Rumpus is not only going to rumpus me, the people on my own side are going to rumpus me. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Arwen. So where's the rope?
Right. Yeah, but we need to establish a principle first, Nathan.
No, we've established it. I understand. Let me repeat it to you. I'm not 5. I can listen. I can repeat it. So, in a tug-of-war situation, there are forces at play. I understand. Where's the rope?
Right, okay, so you do understand in a tug-of-war, there are 2 forces...
Yes! I've just repeated it to you, absolute idiot.
That's right.
So, I understand. Now answer my question, retard.
I will indeed. Okay,
where is the rope?
Gravity. The gravitational field force.
Oh, right. So, there's no scientific evidence of gravity. This is a fantasy. 3 gnome pixies, fantasy. It's not real. There's no scientific evidence of gravity whatsoever. The Foucault pendulum's not an experiment. The Cavendish balls are not an experiment. None of this proves gravity. None of this proves we're on a spinning ball. None of this proves we've got a radius. There is no rope. There is no tug of war. We're not going to accept your terms. Anything else, Rumpus?
This is a wonderful experiment.
Yeah, where's the rope? You still haven't given me an answer. You just keep telling us that we must accept your terms, that there's a tug of war going on. Where's the rope?
I explained to you it's in the form of a gravitational field.
Yeah, I've just explained to the audience while you tried to rumpus me that there's no scientific evidence of gravity whatsoever.
There is scales. Getting on some scales.
Sorry, a scale is not scientific evidence. It does not establish a cause and effect. It does not have a hypothesis. It does not have a dependent and an independent variable. It is not asserted with systematic experimentation. It's not science.
All of those. It does all of those.
Scale doesn't do those things. You're a retard. If you're going to assert that a scale is science, then you are stupid.
You don't understand what you're talking about. This is why, Nathan.
No, that's just an ad hominem attack. That doesn't come with a retort. That doesn't come with a response. That doesn't come with a rebuttal. Calling me stupid doesn't change that getting on a scale is not a formulated hypothesis with an independent and dependent variable with systematic experimentation to validate or invalidate your hypothesis. A scale is just a scale, and to assert that that's science makes you a retard.
You want me to go through that scale, standing on scales being a hypothesis?
No, I want to go through the scales. I want to go through the scales. I challenge you on that, Rumpus.
Okay.
I want you to look at the screen, and I want you to imagine that the human being on the scales is number 6, the cherry tomato, yeah?
Okay.
If we vary the medium that the human being that stood on the scales is in, and we can show that we can demonstrate that by attributing a different number to it, the scales will alter in what they read as a force, as you would call it. However, two things. One, A, the definition of force is force equals mass times acceleration, and it's not accelerating. So there isn't by definition of force. And secondly, if we vary the medium that's around the observer that's on the scales is going to read something different.
Correct.
Right. That's a bit of a problem for you if you're going to...
And I'll explain why. Will you let me explain? Right, here we go. There are two forces in play when something like this cherry tomato, which we'll pretend is a person, is standing on some scales. There is a weight of the person being caused by the gravitational...
No.
Anthony, you interrupted me. I didn't stop you. Please.
No, because you've used...
Anthony, now you come on. Don't. Let's
get really angry about it. You've just substituted mass for weight. Anthony disclaimed this on one of the background shows. So if you want to check those out, check out Nathan Oakley, my second channel, so you can hear where Anthony points out that this is exactly what Rumpus would do. Not just Mystic Meg predictions, just Rumpus, very predictable. He needs there to be a weight. The cherry tomato, if you put a scale under it, would weigh nothing because it's in equilibrium. The scale's useless when dealing with neutral buoyancy because things don't have any weight. He just needs to attribute weight so he can introduce G. And he's going to rumpus the living daylights out of Anthony when he points out that we're not dealing with weight here. You just need it to be weight so you can call gravity into effect. And in the meantime, you're going to rumpus the living daylights out of it every single time.
So do you think you saved Anthony, Nathan? Do you think you saved Anthony there?
I don't need Nathan to save me.
Well, he did though, didn't he? He tried to save you. He tried to censor me. He didn't like my explanation. He didn't like reality, so he tried to save you.
No,
and he did
you're
very badly.
reality.
Please listen. The word weight.
Yeah, but Anthony, you've got to listen to me.
Yeah, so he won't.
Just listen.
Anthony, you didn't listen to me, did you? You didn't
I'll shut him up again and point out that every time this comes up, the fact that he's substituting mass for weight, so he can introduce G, he rumpuses the hangout. He won't let Anthony finish. He'll claim that he's being censored, when in reality, he just won't allow this objection, because this is the crux of his argument. He needs to substitute mass for weight. And every time he gets pointed out, he'll rumpus, because he can't allow this point to slide. He obfuscate it at all costs.
I'm trying to answer. I'm trying to answer. I'm trying to
answer. So let's see if he gives us a direct answer.
Why are you substituting? He's not trying to answer. He's trying to rumpus.
He's not trying to answer. He's trying to make damn sure that the point that he's substituting mass for weight never gets to the audience. That's why when he does this, I'll say it repeatedly with him on mute, because he doesn't want this point getting through, so I'm going to make damn sure it gets through. He won't obfuscate it. He is using sleight of hand so he can introduce gravity for his spinning ball religion. Anthony's pointing it out. He predicted, you can check out Nathan Oakley channel to back this up, that this would happen, that Rumpus would rumpus the hangout when this happens so this point doesn't get through to the audience. So I guarantee that's all he'll do from now on, because he won't let Anthony make this point, because it demolishes his religion. He knows it. He's just got a religious faith in G. And he'll introduce it and claim he's being censored and say over and over again, I'm trying to answer the question.
Do you think so? But why do you think that might be, whoever you are? I'm trying to answer the question that I was asked.
See? I'm trying to answer the question. He's not trying to answer the question. He's trying to obfuscate the question. If he was trying to answer the question, he'd be giving an answer rather than substituting mass for weight, which he'll do over and over and over and over again, every single time. And in the meantime, he'll rumpus it.
Reality, I'm afraid, will have you in the end.
Do you know why you got censored, Rumpus?
Because they didn't like the answer. Yeah, I know that.
Because you used the word weight, and that's not in the definition. And you know, science is about very defined terms, and we're trying to have very defined terms here. And you're keeping interrupting.
If you go and look, I'm allowed to use whatever words I like for a start, and B, it is in it's accepted science. If you don't understand what weight is, you go and look at the definition of buoyancy.
You go and have a look at what weight is. There it is again. So with that, I'll say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you hated the show, then you know exactly what to do. You've probably done it already. But if you like the show, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you've not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!